Wake up. Wake myself up. Final one of the week, Seeds of Wisdom from David Daniels, aka the Shy Man, aka the Quiet Achiever, aka filling any gaps you want. So, who's gonna with me? Come on, Friday night. No work for most people tomorrow. Let's get some people joining me. One day I will bring these earlier. 52, 53 of these, and I'm still learning. I'm still taking a journey. Anyway, whether you're watching this right now, whether you're watching this later, whether you're watching this in years to come, I hope you are well. Thank you for all the love. Thank you for all the support. Now, whenever you see me with one of these, you know it's serious, because it means I'm going in. It means I've got some notes, and usually 95% of the time I don't be doing this with no notes. Yes, thoughts are in my mind, but it's usually just I'm speaking as I'm going along. I'm thinking on things as I'm going along. But when you see me with one of these, it's serious. It means I've had to write some notes. It's something that's, I want to make sure I deliver the correct message. So I think I had one day, I can't remember what did I talk about yesterday. No. The one yesterday was kind of off the cuff, inspired by Taylor Hastings. Living in the, what was it called? Living in the Grey, something like that. But the one before, talking about Michael Jordan, that was a written affair. So this one's on my mind for a while, and it's something I'm quite excited about, because I love. I don't know if you guys, let me educate those who don't know. What is a podcast? So essentially, a podcast, in my eyes, is like a radio show, which is online. So you can listen to them live, but you can they also get saved afterwards, and then you can download them and listen to them at your leisure. So it's almost like the iPlayer for radio, really. And the iPlayer is when you can watch TV, catch up TV once the show is finished. And YouTube shows are kind of a similar thing, but using video. People record shows there and put them up on YouTube. And now with YouTube Live, they can actually stream them or beam them live as well. So I'm loving podcasts, because podcasts there are a range of subjects. Anything really. It could be business, could be sports, could be lifestyle, could be religion. Excuse me. And I see these. I actually don't know if I'm right or not. I actually see these as being part of the future of education in our schools. I can definitely see podcasts being used in schools to educate our children, because some of these podcasts are fantastic, and I think all of them are free as far as I know. You don't have to pay any penny for them. So I'm gonna just talk through, hence the notes, the ones what I'm listening to, the ones I've listened to in the past, just try and give you a flavour of what's going through my mind, what I'm being inspired by at the moment, and hopefully to encourage you, if you're not already downloading podcasts, to encourage you to find out more about them. And if you are ready, maybe there's some new ones you can join or watch or listen to. So let's go in. Thank you. I think I've got one person in. I keep forgetting to wait for people to join. Hashtag learning on the job. So I've got one person with me. That could be me, myself, and I. That might be 3 people. Anyway, I am rambling on. Right, so in no particular order, we have Utamares, Straight from the Heart, weekly podcast / YouTube show, because he does the podcast and then he posts the videos on a YouTube show. And Utam, Straight from the Heart, Facebook Live, coach, public speaker. He's raw. He's like me. I'm Seeds of Wisdom, and he's straight from the heart, just bringing raw messages to you, straight up. And a few weeks ago, he started a podcast, stroke YouTube show, Straight from the Heart. I had the pleasure of being on the 3rd episode. He reached out to me, saw what I was doing, saw some potential perhaps because he's had some well-known people on there. Javan Langford. He's had Michael Serwer. What's his name? Michelle Raymond, Jose Farina. He's had some well-known, and he gave me the opportunity to be in his show. It's the first time I've done something like that, and it worked out really well. We chatted about it beforehand. We was on the phone for about 2 hours. Bearing in mind we've never met. We've got a mutual connection through Warren Moran, and we were just chatting. And it was like, what we're gonna do about the show? What was the format? It says, look, we've just been talking, freestyling for 2 hours. Let's just roll with it. Let's just see what comes. And it worked. It worked really well. He's actually taken a break, or in his words, he's having a bit of a heart transplant, having a bit of a rebrand. But I'm sure when it comes back, it'll be bigger and better. So if you're not friends with Utam, check him out on Facebook, and then he's got his own channel on YouTube as well, and you can watch them. You can watch the one with me if you want. Let me know your thoughts. Again, in no particular order. Number 2, Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss is the author of one of the most well-known books called The 4-Hour Work Week, and since then he's kind of taken that tagline and he's done the 4-Hour Body, I think, the 4-Hour Chef, and there's much more. I think actually Tim Ferriss has got on iTunes, I think he might have been beaten by Rob Moore, but he's got the #1 podcast in terms of business, the category of business. Can't remember the name of his podcast. I haven't actually listened to them in full because what I found, his podcast seems to be quite long in duration. No doubt there's lots of value there. But up to recently, there's different, if you listen to podcasts, you often need like a podcast player, and there's different ones you can get on your mobile phone. iTunes is the most well-known one for Apple. The most well-known one for Android is Stitcher. But I come across one called, where did I write this down? AntennaPod. And for me, I've scratched the surface on all the features and functions. For me, it's fantastic. One of the key things is, for me, when I stop it, I can even come out of the program while listening to a podcast. And when I come back in, it plays from exactly the same spot. And I can download them. I can stream them live. Check it out. Stitcher or on what I'm using, AntennaPod. If you're on your Apple iPhone, then use iTunes. So Tim Ferriss, he just talks business, and I know his podcast will be great because I know what he's done in the publishing world with his books, and he's a go-to person. He's an expert in what he does. So yeah, check it out. Check out Tim Ferriss. Check out the book first, perhaps, and then if you like what you read, then check out the podcast. Now, the one I am listening to right now, and I'm just working my way through this, I'm just loving it. It's Errol Lawson. Errol Lawson has got the podcast called The Rising Generation podcast. Give you a bit of background on that. Errol Lawson, I accidentally came across him actually. I was looking at a book, I believe it was by Amanda C. Watts, called Freedompreneur. Using a play in the words of entrepreneur, but how to become free in business for yourself. It was on Amazon, and it had like associated books, and one of them was a book called Teampreneur. I thought, okay, it's obviously I initially thought it must be teenagers becoming entrepreneurs, so it intrigued me. I clicked on it, started reading through it. The author was this chap called Errol Lawson. When he was young, he was in a gang, but now he's an entrepreneur, he's a pastor, he's a coach, and from there, and me in my research mode, started finding out about him. Found he was on Facebook, connected with him. Actually had a conversation with him on the phone about his coaching services, and yeah, half an hour, 45 minutes he gave me of his time for no cost, and so much value in that time. And the main thing he brought out to me was focusing on one thing, not spreading yourself thin. Just take focus, use what you enjoy, which is I enjoy helping people and family close to my heart, and you can apply that in a range of different ways, and just choose one and focus on it, and I'm taking that advice. But the Rising Generation podcast is for the next generation of Christian leaders, how to be a leader, how to be inspired. And I'm not sure how often he does it, because I'm playing catch up. He's done about 60 or 70 of them, and I'm like number 13. I'm just rifling my way through them. He interviews people in the business, who have businesses or in the business world, but also are Christians. There could be pastors, there could be priests, but also run businesses or involved in this, that, and the other. And for me, there's always been, on my journey as a Christian, there's always been a kind of tension between business and faith, business and religion, whatever way you want to look at it. And the fact he's done this podcast, which has shown people succeeding in business, living by their Christian values, is an education. That's the worst thing I can say. It is an education. If I had that type of information being available to me in school, I would have flown, because I always kind of like an interest in business. I didn't know exactly what it was. I knew I didn't want to kind of follow the conventional route, but I just didn't know what it was. And having something like that would have been fantastic. But I'm listening to it now, and I'm rifling my way through it. So that's the podcast I'm listening to right now. Each episode is about half an hour, and with the app I'm using, I can literally listen to it for a bit, finish what I'm doing, and then come back to it, and then finish what I'm doing and come back to it. And it's a fantastic podcast, in my opinion. The best podcast I've listened to. But another podcast I like, and I don't actually listen to this one, I have to kind of ban myself from this one, is a podcast called Side Hustle Nation. It's about starting a business on the side and then working way up. And this is a fantastic podcast. If you're struggling for an idea to start up a business, you need to be listening to Side Hustle Nation, because it's just every week, just new business ideas. And for me, and just if you think back about 2 minutes ago when I was talking about lack of focus or spreading myself too thin, when I listen to this show, I just it's just so many ideas, and I can't listen. I ban myself from this podcast because I need to stay focused on one thing, and if I start listening to that, my head is just going to start getting swayed. So what are some examples? I haven't listened to it for a while. So one was about, if you have ideas but you don't have the resources to start up, you can license your idea and earn money from it. So one guy came up with a board game idea, and he licensed it out to a well-known game manufacturer and earned in the thousands for his idea. So if you're an ideas person, you're a creative person, but you don't know what to do with those ideas, you can license them that one way. Another one was ebooks, producing ebooks. He's done 3 or 4 episodes on those. Funny enough, one of them was about public speaking, income through public speaking. So what else was there? There's so many. If you like I say, so many ideas on this side hustle nation. One is about using Fiverr. Fiverr is basically a website. If you need something done, if you need a logo done, if you need spreadsheets done, you find people on there who will offer to do it for $5. But there's a way through me listening to Side Hustle Nation that you can actually make money from this website called Fiverr. If I didn't ban myself, I'd be listening to this. This is a fantastic thing, but for me, I need to stay focused, so I ban myself. But if you're alright, if you can control yourself, or you don't know what you want to do, listen to that show. Excuse me. Right, what else we got? I touched very briefly on Rob Moore. Rob Moore runs a company called Progressive Property with Mark Homer. He calls himself the disruptive entrepreneur. So you may have heard in the business world, disrupting industries quite a lot. Like Uber have disrupted the taxi industry. They've changed the model of way we order taxis. Airbnb and Booking.com have disrupted the accommodation industry. if you've got a property that you want to let out, you can let it out in terms of like a service accommodation for a few nights. You can just put your property up on these websites, and you've given you the opportunity to attract people to your property. So they disrupted that industry, and like I say, Rob Morris called himself the disruptive entrepreneur, thinking about things a different way. How can he shake things up and what have you? And he's got a podcast show, and I think it's second, if not first, in terms of popularity to Tim Ferriss. So yeah, if you want ideas on entrepreneurship, frank, open, honest conversation, then listen to Rob Moore's The Disruptive Entrepreneur podcast. Who else have we got? Right, I'm going to move on to the YouTube side of things. So YouTube shows are basically people recording shows and put them on YouTube. So some of the ones I've watched is one called Silbon, The Silbon Show, Silbon Sidal. Check him out on Facebook. Entrepreneur, lawyer, activist, and he interviews various people on the shows. He's had Warren Ryan from the Fear Speaking Academy. He's had Woody Cummins, my unofficial mentor back in the day. Rudy Page. Who else has he had? Who's the guy? Ultra Education. It'll come to me. I've forgotten his name. Forgive me, it's on the tip of my tongue. The guy who runs a business called Ultra Education. He teaches primary school children about entrepreneurship. And I will get his name. I can see his face, but his name escapes me. I'll think of it before the show's up. Or is it in my notes? No, it's not in my notes. So he interviews these people. It's like watching a TV show, but except it's on YouTube. And he does some other things on. He does Facebook Live videos and what have you. But yeah, really informative. You get into the minds of people and how they think and how their attitude, and it's just an education. Like I said, other shows that you can get on YouTube are what we have. Warren Ryan's actually done a few. I don't know if he's done them recently. The Always Achieving show, or was that Michael Serwer? Forgive me, guys. One of those guys have got a show called the Always Achieving show, interviewing public speakers, coaches, just getting into the mind of them, how they think. Right, a slightly left field one for me. I've always been big on my music, always loved music growing up. Mostly hip hop, R&B, but not partial to other music genres. And back in the day, I was growing up, it was kind of when garage came on the scene, kind of in the jungle, drum and bass. Yeah, I'm showing my age now. Drum and bass, and then grime came along, and Dizzy Rascal and all that, and people obviously seeing them coming back. Not so much Diddy's always been around, but the other guys in the industry, that genre of music coming back to the surface. And there's a show, I can't remember how I come across, I stumbled across it, called NFTR. Not for the radio, sorry, let me backtrack a bit. So yeah, the music thing, one thing more so now than back in the day, was a lot of, especially in hip hop and that, a lot of talented musicians, a lot of talented artists, and for me, they weren't using their gifts in the right way. So profanities and just talking about, you know what I mean, material things. And when I was younger, that was kind of what I just listened to it. But now, especially coming back to faith as a Christian, I kind of turned off from that. Not discounting their giftings as a. I've always been fascinated by the lyrics and rapping and that creativity to come up with those phrases and words, and that it's intrigued me. But yeah, becoming a born again Christian, I don't want to be listening to that. I don't want to be listening to that stuff. I appreciate your skills and qualities, but I would like it if you could use it for me to talk about more important stuff. One rapper who bucked the trend of that was Akala. Big up Akala. and he's taken it a step further. He set up the Hip Hop Shakespeare Company, and for me, he's a true lyricist, and he's activist for Black history, and also he's kind of one, and I'm sure there's many more out there, but he's kind of the most prominent one. And he's had not had his necessarily had his music on the top radios, but he's chosen his path. He's chosen to take that, and he's doing well. So I respect him for that. But yeah, this show NFTR. So like I said, the grime UK rap, whatever you call it, scene kind of came out big. It blew up big. A lot of people got signed to major record deals, and then it kind of dipped and it fell flat. And then last year, so it's kind of come back to the surface. So there's a show called NFTI, stands for Not for the Radio. 3 presenters usually interview some of these more well-known people in the genre of grime, hip-hop, rap, what have you. So for me, it's a bit of a nostalgia. These guys are coming back, but for me, it's an education because you get to listen and see them talk about their rise to the top. Also, the business side of the music industry as well. And I've got interest in business. So one of the guys, Mega Man, from the So Solid crew, he's kind of was a top guy. He talked about the business side of things, and I find that fascinating because it's just like an insight into the business side of things. And now he said he was investing. It wasn't just music; he's investing in land and entrepreneurial and all that. So I find it it's a bit of nostalgia. These guys who were around when I was growing up and listening to that type of music, but listening to the other side of it as well, the stresses, the strains that they went through. And just to give you an example, there was a guy there called Chipmunk. He's now known as Chip. His school wasn't very far from my school, but he was very, very young when he kind of blew up and became known in the scene. Signed a major record deal, worked with some guys from the States, and then he kind of I don't know what happened, but he kind of went quiet along with his scene as well, and he's come back. And just one little thing he shared, so I don't know if you know anything about record sales and that. There's different record sales. When you hit a certain amount of sales, you go gold, and I don't know what order it is. You can go gold and then you go platinum. So when you say someone's gone platinum, it means, well, I used to think it means they sold a certain amount of records, a significant amount of records in the thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands. But Chipmunk was talking, or Chip as he's known as, and he was talking about one of his first albums that is shipped platinum. He didn't say it went platinum, he said it shipped platinum. And one of the interviewers asked him to explain what they meant. And he said, "Hey Nana, how you doing, my brother? Thank you for joining. You might have to watch this one up on the replay. I'm just talking about podcasts and YouTube shows and how I benefit from them and how others can benefit from them, and some of the ones that I've been listening to. Maybe you should do a podcast. I know your last Facebook Live, you was talking about doing a Facebook Live with one of the people who were making comments. Maybe you can turn that into a regular feature. Just throwing it out there. So anyway, yeah, Chipmunk was talking about shipping platinum, and I was like, what do you mean shipping platinum? And basically what he's saying is the record label produced the levels of CDs needed to go platinum. So just say it was 1,000, they would have produced 1,000 CDs, which would have, if he had sold them, would have taken him to a platinum selling album. So they shipped it, but doesn't mean they sold them, and he couldn't remember whether he did go platinum in terms of sales or whether he shipped it. And that for me was just that little insight. I just found it really interesting because it allows me to learn a bit more about the music industry, how it works, because I only knew one aspect of what he was talking about. So that little thing. So yeah, kind of a left field one where I'm at the moment, but it's kind of I can still get value from that. So yeah, not for the radio. And one of them's got Wiley, who's seen titled The Godfather of Grime. He's helped to bring a lot of artists through, and listen to him and what he's been through, and I think it's going to get made into a film. For me, it's like I say, it's a twofold thing for me. One, it's a bit of nostalgia. Back in that scene, it brings my memory back to those times, what it was like, and then seeing where they are now. And two, I just see their education in terms of business and the music industry and other things they're working on as well. So, what else we got? I think that's it. So, those are some of the podcasts I'm listening to. There are so many more out there. You will find something that you will interest you. And like I say, I can see this being, I can see this being part of the way that the kids get educated in the future by podcasts and YouTube shows, because there's just so much value. And I'm loving the one I'm listening to at the moment. I'm just lapping it up. I can't get enough of it at the moment. It's just a real education for me. And yeah, if you're struggling for any business ideas or just want to, you've had a fall but maybe you don't know how to develop it, no, more often than not, it's probably been covered in the side hustle nation. And I've self-imposed ban on that one. I need to focus on a particular thing. I can't be listening to that and getting distracted and swayed. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know what podcasts are you listening to? What YouTube shows are you watching? Let me know. I'm interested to know what you guys are watching. What podcast shows and TV and YouTube shows are you getting value from? Let me know. Apologies, this one is late again. Hopefully you hit this one up on a replay. I need to post. I'd like to know from people what kind of times. I know it's not going to satisfy everyone, but what kind of times you would like me to do Facebook Lives. And as I'm finishing, Mr. Cummins enjoyed. Thank you, Mr. Cummins, Audie Cummins, for joining. I think it's the first time you joined me live, and I'm finishing up. I'm just talking about podcasts and YouTube shows and the power of them and the education I feel that they bring, and perhaps maybe it's something that will be brought to the school system. And some of the ones I'm listening to. Thank you, Alex, for that comment, Gospel. Some of the ones I'm listening to, I'm watching to. I mentioned Silborn. Obviously, you know Silborn well. Audie was on Silborn's show, the Silborn Show, which you can see on YouTube. And maybe Audie in the future you will. I want to recommend one. I'd like you. I was talking about one of the ones that I'm listening to at the moment, which I'm absolutely loving. It's by a guy called Errol Lawson. It's called the Rising Generation podcast. Is for the next generation of Christian leaders, bringing them up, inspiring them. Errol's a pastor and entrepreneur himself, like yourself. And I was thinking that for you to go in there actually on that show, people who are mixing faith and business successfully. Because for me, I've always seen there's been a tension between the business or traditional business, like earning money, earning profit, all about profit, bottom line, and then faith as well. But he, through these podcast interviews he's doing, he's showing that you can mix the two together and not have to compromise on your faith. So I think you'd be a perfect candidate for the show. I'm putting it out there now. If Errol, if you're watching this in a replay, speak with Audie. If not, I'm going to contact you at some point. And obviously, it's got to work for both of you, but I think you add value, definitely add value to that. Yeah, check out, listen to the Rising Generation podcast and see what your thoughts are. So, if anyone has got any comments about any podcasts that they're listening to, any YouTube shows they're watching, let me know. Check out some of the ones I mentioned and let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think of them as well. And I haven't even scratched the surface with podcasts out there. But yeah, fantastic. It allows you to pick your content, just like the internet's changed the game in terms of TV. I suppose Sky to a degree as well. It's not just BBC One channel, BBC Two channel, ITV, and Channel 4, Channel 5. We can literally choose what we want to watch when we want to watch it. It doesn't have to be watched live. We can just watch it on a replay, watch it on iPlayer, and it's the same now with podcasts. You can choose what radio station, if you like, you listen to and when you listen to it. And if you've missed the live edition, you can still listen to it later. So it's kind of pick and choose what you what you want to engage your eyes with and what you want to engage your ears with, and not just. For me, I haven't watched TV properly in years now. If I do, it's probably the news, maybe a bit of football, or the odd thing here, or probably a film. I spend a lot of my time on the internet, but also listening now to podcasts and reading books and choosing the things that I want to go inside my head. And watching Facebook Lives as well. That's the kind of last thing, yeah. Facebook Lives. What kind of Facebook Lives do I look at for? Most recently, Gershom Allen. I think it's Dr. G, the Love Motivator. Audie, I know you're friends with him. Warren Ryan, Theatre Speaking Academy. He will post several Facebook Lives a day. Alex, I've just started. I don't know how to pronounce your surname, Alex, and forgive me. Lesments. He's just started doing some Facebook Lives. Kind of reminds me when I started all those months ago, all those years ago, back in July. So yeah, reach out and support Alex in what he's doing. Nana Marfo, I'm a big fan of Nana. I don't always get to watch him, but he's consistent every night, sharing his message, sharing his word, talking about unique ability, not disability. Very entertaining, and anyways. So yeah, check him out. Those are kind of YouTube ones I'm watching. Errol Lawson, when he goes on there, I try and catch him. Those are kind of those are kind of the main in terms of Facebook Lives. But there's always be new people to check out. Anyone you guys think I should be listening to or watching on YouTube Live, let me know. And the great thing of the YouTube Lives, Facebook Lives. I haven't jumped on YouTube Live yet. The great thing with Facebook Lives is often I save down the videos to watch at a later time, because it's just not appropriate or inconvenient for me to watch at the time. And that's the great thing of all this content. You can choose to listen or watch it when you want, not when the TV station dictates it to you. And I love that. I love that aspect of it. So I'm just thinking if I've got any more Facebook Live people that I watch regularly, and I don't think so. Utum, I'll try and catch his. I don't think you've done one in a while, Utum, but yeah, try and catch him when you can. So on that note, the Shy Man is about to leave you for the week and set sail for the weekend. Have a fantastic weekend all. Hope you enjoyed this week's editions of my Facebook Live. I haven't fallen asleep. I think I've brought you one every day this week. More to come next week. Who knows? Any suggestions, anything you want me to speak on, let me know. The pad at the beginning is still full of stuff. I'm still adding stuff to it daily. Got scraps of paper hidden everywhere, just random thoughts that come in my head. Alex says, just call me Alex, brother. Yeah. Alex, that's fine with me, man. Yeah, I think you've done your full Facebook Live. You're doing well, man. Just keep going. Don't stress about the mistakes or things that are not perfect. Just watch some of my ones, man. Dodgy lighting, upside down videos. Yeah, I'm 53 videos into it, and I've got better as I've gone along. More confident with how things look, responding to, engaging with the with people making comments. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing, man. You're doing good. And I'm not just saying that for the sake of it. I've done what you're doing, so I know what it's like. So when I'm giving you the comments, it's authentic. That's what I'm trying to get at. I'm not just saying it for the sake of it. I've been what you're doing. Been doing what you're doing. So keep going, man. You're doing well. And I'm gonna love you and leave you, people. God willing, see you Monday for another edition of Seeds of Wisdom from the Shy Man. I'm out. Amen. I'm out.